Good day, I am Gianrati Rojas, and in this presentation, I'm going to discuss about supply chain contracts and decisions. I'll be explaining three spreadsheet models that show how businesses decide how much inventory to order when demand is uncertain. At first glance, they look like simple tables of numbers, but once you understand what they represent, they actually tell a story about decision making, risk, and strategy. What I like about these examples is that they can show how even small contract changes can influence real business behavior in a big way. These are the real problem businesses face. How much should we order? Every retailer constantly asks one question: how much stock should we order? If they order too much, they lose money from unsold products. If they order too little, they lose customers and sales. This balancing act is a daily challenge for stores, warehouses, and distributors. So the goal isn't guessing perfectly, it's finding a smart way to manage uncertainty so mistakes don't become expensive. One thing that we must understand is that decisions affect profit. Before looking at the spreadsheets, I used to think ordering was mostly intuition, but now that we have data, the data shows that it's actually a structured decision process. Companies calculate possible outcomes, compare risks, and choose an order quantity that gives the best expected result. So ordering isn't just operational work. It's a financial strategy that directly affects profit. The spreadsheets analyze three different supplier agreements: discounts, buyback contracts, and flexible ordering. These don't change customer demand itself. Instead, they change how confident a retailer feels when placing an order. That's important because confidence level strongly affects how much inventory businesses are willing to commit to. There's also a discount model. The first spreadsheet compares ordering with and without a supplier discount. When the supplier offers a lower price per unit, the retailer's cost decreases. This immediately changes the risk calculation. Even if some items don't sell, the loss per unit is smaller because the retailer becomes more comfortable ordering a larger quantity. When we compare the results, the optimal order quantity is clearly higher in the discount case. This is not random, it's a logical response because lower cost reduces financial exposure. So, mathematically and practically, the safest decision shifts from ordering less to ordering more. The spreadsheet makes that cause and effect relationship very clear. So, the meaning behind this, the cost affects confidence. What I find interesting here is that the change isn't just financial, it is behavioral. Lower cost increases confidence, and when decision makes feel more secure, they naturally take slightly bigger risks. This shows that supply chain decisions aren't just about numbers. They also reflect human judgment and, well, risk taking risks or risk perception. So the supplier shares risk. The second spreadsheet introduces a buyback contract. In this arrangement, the supplier agrees to purchase unsold goods from the retailer at a set price. This acts like insurance. If demand is lower than expected, the retailer does not absorb the full loss because they can return excess inventory. Well, without buyback, the retailer takes all the risk. In the scenario without a buyback agreement, the retailer is cautious. The spreadsheet shows a smaller optimal order quantity because every unsold unit represents a direct loss. So, the safest strategy is to limit orders, even if that means possibly missing some opportunities to sell. With buyback, the orders rise. Once buyback is introduced, the optimal order quantity increases significantly and it is noticeable. Since unsold goods can be returned, the retailer does not fear overstocking as much. That safety net changes behavior immediately. This is where the confidence comes in. The numbers clearly show how one contract condition can shift a decision from conservative to more aggressive ordering. When we look at buyback in hindsight, the shared risk is the same as to higher supply. Well, the main lesson here is simple. When the risk is shared, the supply will increase. Businesses become willing to stock more products because they know losses won't fall entirely on them. It will be shared. This kind of arrangement often improves product availability for customers while still protecting retailers financially. Flexibility contract. This adjusts orders later, and this is shown in the third spreadsheet. It focuses on quantity flexibility contracts. Instead of committing to one fixed order quantity, the retailer can adjust their order later after observing early demand trends. This is useful when demand is unpredictable or seasonal because it allows decisions to be updated using better information. If we want to reduce mistakes, flexibility will work. And this is one of the reason why flexibility works because it corrects errors. If demand turns out higher than expected, the retailer can increase the order. If demand is lower, they can reduce it. This means they don't have to rely completely on early forecasts. The spreadsheet shows that this adaptability reduces both shortages and excess in inventory.
When I compare all three models side by side, what stands out to me is that they may look different on paper, but they actually solve the same core problem: uncertainty. The discount contract works by lowering cost, which makes retailers more comfortable ordering larger quantities. The buyback contract works by sharing risk, so retailers are not afraid of leftover inventory. And the flexibility contract works by allowing adjustments later, which reduces the chance of making the wrong decisions early. So even though each strategy uses a different method, they all aim for the same outcome: better decisions under unpredictable demand. What I like about this comparison is that it shows there isn't just one best solution. Instead, companies choose the strategy that best matches their situation, their risk tolerance, and their relationship with suppliers. That's why understanding these models is not just about math. It's about understanding business behavior. One idea I want you to remember from all three spreadsheets, it's this. Supply chains are shaped just as much by agreements as they are by products or customers. Before looking at these models, it's easy to assume businesses simply try to predict demand and hope they're right. But what this analysis shows is that smart companies don't rely only on predictions. They design contracts that protect them if they're wrong. A well-designed contract can encourage larger orders, reduce financial risk, improve product availability, and even strengthen relationships between suppliers and retailers. In other words, contracts don't just support decisions, they actively influence them. So, the real lesson here is that in supply chain management, success isn't only about forecasting demand, it's about structuring agreements that make good decisions